One of the only good things left about being on the internet in 2025 is being able to discover a new game or other piece of media that you otherwise may not have ever come across. Back in the first half of January, I saw a post on Blue Sky asking for playtesters for an upcoming tower defense title, Riff. I've only really dabbled in the genre, but couldn't help but be charmed by the trailer. The art style was delightful, and the waves of interdimensional monsters were composed of various black blobs that nonetheless had a personality to them. I signed myself up and waited for my chance. What I played exceeded any expectations I may have had. Not only did the art and enemy designs hold their charms, but so did every other aspect of the game. Your little robed protagonist, the sound effects, the music, the gameplay loop, all of it was so genuinely well executed that I was left wondering why they even needed people like me to play test it to begin with. So when they announced an updated demo as well as a lengthier preview build of the game leading up to its presence at Steam Next Fest, I jumped at the opportunity to play even more of this game so I could shout about it from the rooftops. Or at the very least, shout about it to my little nook of the internet and anyone else who would listen. So here is what you can expect from the demo available now during Next Fest, and why you should absolutely give this game a whirl. As I mentioned before, Riff is a tower defense game. Some games, like Plants vs. Zombies, use the term tower pretty loosely to just refer to whatever base or structure the player needs to defend, but in this case there's a literal tower placed on the map with various nodes scattered about for you to stage your defenses. At first, you have 3 defenses at your disposal. The slower, which slows enemies as they pass. The outpost, which is a bit slow to fire but will shoot enemies. And the cannon, which is also a bit slow but does some decent area of effect damage to take on entire groups of enemies at once. As is common for the genre, each of these defenses also have their own effective ranges. As you progress, you will earn prisms to unlock additional types of defenses or upgrades to use against these interdimensional hordes. The game does an excellent job of trickling out these new tools so you don't get too overwhelmed with trying a million new mechanics at once. The same is true for showcasing the different types of enemies. Some come 1 or 2 at a time, some come in larger groups, some will always head straight for your main tower, and some will attack any structure they come across, like your defenses. This combination of enemy types and defensive types adds a fun layer of strategy into the mix. And thankfully, failing a scenario just throws you right back to the point on the map where you build your main tower, giving you the option to choose a different set of defenses. The last major aspect of the gameplay loop is juice, which is the resource needed to build your defenses. A decent amount is given to you before the scenario officially kicks off, and the UI tells you how much you'll be accumulating as the waves of enemies progress. For example, you may only have 2 or 3 defensive structures in place when the first wave begins, but by the time the final wave begins, you'll have nearly filled the map with more defenses based on enemy types and the associated juice cost. If you're in a scenario where your defenses can be destroyed, you're able to rebuild them at partial health while in the middle of the wave. However, when you're between waves, you're able to dismantle and rearrange things as you see fit, giving players a nice breather to rethink their earlier strategies if they aren't working as well as they'd hoped. I truly cannot recommend this game enough to anyone who has even an iota of love for tower defense. It's been a genuine joy to play, with loads of new defenses, enemy types, and scenarios to uncover and work through. And just when you think you've really gotten the hang of things, you'll come across a scenario with a completely novel mechanic that will put your skills to the test. It's a delightful game that I hope you'll check out during Steam Next Fest, happening now through March 3rd. If you do check out Riff, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this charming interdimensional tower defense. Thanks for watching, and as always, play what you love and love what you play.